talking about the echinoderms. Okay, so echinoderm larvae. You all know actually echinoderms come under the invertebrates, and it is the last phyla before the chordata, or you can say or hemichordata. And these echinoderms are actually the unisexual animals with no sexual dimorphism, and their fertilization is external because it takes place usually in the water, and they are actually deuterostomes, and hence their cleavage is radial, holoblastic as well as indeterminate, and the development is mostly indirect, having larval stages in between. So since the fertilization is external, they produce different types of larvae. So you all know actually echinoderms have is the after the arthropoda, you can say echinodermata is the second largest phylum, in which you have number of what do you say, the classes are there, and because of the number of classes and all those things, the larvae also uh, that are being produced by the echinoderms are more in number. So each what do you say, the class you can say, or each order you can say, produces a different type of larva. So we see many types of echinoderms larvae, and here they are, you all know that they are the unisexual animals, and sexual dimorphism is not distinctly marked, and their fertilization is external because echinoderms mostly live in the water, and since that is the reason why the fertilization is external, and it takes place in the water. Okay, now the echinoderms are deuterostomes. Yesterday I talked about the protostomes and the deuterostomes, you all know actually, and the deuterostomes, that is echinoderms come under deuterostomes along with the vertebrates. Okay, now we will see what are the different types of the larvae. So first of all, what is larvae, you all know actually. So these animals, as you all know actually, the eggs are being produced, and these eggs hatch into the larvae. So likewise, even in the echinoderms also, the larvae are being produced, and these larvae, they hatch in the water, they feed, and they grow through successive larval stages to become the adults. So it undergoes different morphological differences, and then it will develop into the adults. So the larvae of echinoderms are bilaterally symmetrical, okay, but they lose the symmetry during the metamorphosis. Basically speaking, actually they are radial symmetry, but the larval forms actually are the bilateral symmetrical. So they undergo morphological changes during the larval stages. They show bilateral symmetry, but once they become adult, they become again radial symmetry. I mean, the symmetry will get metamorphosed into radial. And different classes of the echinodermata show different larval stages. Structurally, they are totally different. And we'll see what are the different classes of the echinoderms, and what are the different types of larvae that are being produced by different classes. Okay, so this is about the brief introduction about the echinoderms. You all know echinoderms, remember, they are the what? Deuterostomes. They are the deuterostomes, and they have a number of classes, and each class produces a different type of larva. Their fertilization is external, and because the fertilization is external, their larvae actually are the eggs are excreted in the water. So these eggs later on they hatch into the larval forms. Now see, this is the different larval forms of the different classes. So you all know actually basically you have 5 different classes of the echinoderms, like you have Asteroidea, Ophiuroidea, Echinoidea, Holothuroidea, and Crinoidea. All of you are listening, no? Yes? Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you have different classes of the echinoderms. What are those different classes? First one is Asteroidea. Second one is Ophiuroidea. Third is Echinoidea. Fourth is Holothuroidea. And the last one is Crinoidea. And each class, I told you, produces a different larval form. Now, for example, Asteroidea. Best example for this is Asterias, that is starfish. So it produces 2 types of larval forms. One is called as the bipinnaria larva, and the other one is the branchiolaria larva. Whereas the different class, that is the second class, Ophiuroidea, it produces Ophioplutus larva. And Echinoidea produces the Echinoplutus larva. Likewise, Holothuroidea produces Auricularia larva and Doliolaria larva. And last one is the Crinoidea, which produces the Doliolaria larva. So these are the different larval forms that are being produced by different classes of the echinoderms. So what are the different classes of the echinoderms? Asteroidea, Ophiuroidea, Echinoidea, Holothuroidea, and Crinoidea. So these different larval forms, how they are being produced, and what is their phylogenetic relationship between the different larval forms. Now we will see one by one. Okay. Now, first one is the bipinnarea larva. Now, I told you bipinnarea larva actually is the first larval form of Asteroidea. Asteroidea, example, best example is the starfish. I think might have learned in your degree or in your intermediate level about the starfish. That is nothing but commonly called as the sea star. So, the first larval form of this Asteroidea is the bipinnarea larva. Now, this bipinnarea larva is bilaterally symmetrical. It is free swimming and it is a pelagic larva. And in this, the different, what do you say, the structure you have, like you have the preoral region and the postoral region. Now, preoral region actually is elongated and the postoral region is broader. And it possesses two seriated bands, that is the preoral band and the postoral band. So that is how actually you recognize a bipinnarea larva. So the bipinnarea larva actually is the first larval form of the Asteroidea. Best example is your sea star, that is nothing but your starfish. It is bilaterally symmetrical and but free swimming. And it has got two regions. One is the preoral region and the other one is the postoral region. Preoral region actually is an elongated form, whereas the postoral region actually is a broader. And it possesses two seriated bands. One seriated band lies in the preoral region, hence it is called as a preoral band. And the second one actually lies in the post-oral region, so hence it is called as a post-oral band. So that is the characteristic feature of what is a bipinnarea larva. That is how you identify the bipinnarea larva. So it is the first larval form. The next characteristic feature is what? The anterior end of this archenteron develop as the mouth, whereas the blastopore becomes the anus. Okay, I told you, no, because it comes under the deuterostomes. Now, in the deuterostomes, the difference between the protostomes and the deuterostomes already I have mentioned to you. In the protostomes, the first opening of the embryo actually first transforms into the mouth and later the anus will be formed. Whereas in the deuterostomes, the first opening, first opening is what? Nothing but the blastopore. The first opening actually of the embryo, we call it as nothing but the blastopore actually becomes the anus. Later on, the mouth will be developed. Later on, the mouth will be developed. So here what they're saying is the anterior end of the archenteron develops as the mouth, whereas the blastopore will become the anus. Blastopore actually comes and lies in the posterior region. So it will become the anus. Second is the preoral and the postoral seriated band there I told you, no. So these are continued over a series of prolongations called as the arms. So actually two arms are there. I'll show you the figure. So the preoral as well as the postoral seriated bands, which are located in the prooral region as well as in the postoral region, they are continued over a series of prolongation, which are called as the arms. So this is the characteristic feature of the bipinnarea larva. That is how you identify a bipinnarea larva. So what is bipinnarea larva? It is the first larval form of Asteroidea class, Asteroidea of phylum Echinodermata. It is bilaterally symmetrical. It is a free-swimming larva and it is a pelagic larva. And here it has got two regions. One is called as the preoral region and the other one is called postoral. Means preoral region is present in the anterior region, whereas the postoral region is present towards the posterior region. Preoral region is an elongated structure, whereas the postoral region actually is broader. And it possesses two seriated bands. Okay, one band lies in the preoral region, hence called preoral band, and the another one lies in the posterior region, so it is called as a postoral band. The next is the anterior region of, yes, ma. Any doubt? Hello? Okay. Now the anterior end of the archenteron here develops into the mouth, whereas the blastopore, that is the first opening of the embryo, will become the anus. And the preoral and the postoral seriated bands, which are present in the preoral and the postoral region, they are continued over the arms. Okay. So this is about the, now next is, see, again, they have given a, the characteristic feature of this, the bipinnarea larva in detail. So they are saying that the following are the names and the number of the arms developing from the preoral and the postoral seriated band. So just now I told you, it has got the preoral and as well as the postoral seriated bands. So how many of the, preoral bands and the postoral bands are present and where they are located? That is, they are located in the dorsal side, and they are located in the posterior as well as the anterior. Based on this, they have given. So they are saying that postoral lateral arm are 2 in number, post-oral arm are 2 in number, postero-dorsal arm are 2 in number, antero-dorsal arm are 2 in number, preoral arm 2, ventromedian arm is 1, and dorsomedian arm is 1. So that means these, what do you say, the bands which are located in the which are located in the prolongations, that we call it as nothing but the arms. So in each arm, okay, there are how many of the bands are present. So what they are saying is the post-oral arm consists of two seriated bands. Posterolateral arm, sorry, consists of two seriated bands. Post-oral arm consists of two seriated bands. Posterodorsal arm, two seriated bands. Anterodorsal arm, two seriated bands. Preoral arm, two. Ventromedian arm, one. And dorsomedian arm, one. So like this, these are the names and number of the arms developing from perioral. So total, how many arms are there? Okay, 2, 2, 2. How many are there? See, this is 10, 11, 12. So total, you have 12 arms are present in the bipinnarea larva. So that is how you have to identify the bipinnarea larva. So total, how many? 12 arms are there. Okay. Next is the bipinnarea larva is a free swimming and a free feeding form. I just now have told you. And after a short period of time, it transforms into the branchiolaria larva. So it takes very little time to get transformed or to get modified into the branchiolaria larva. So first form larva is the what? Bipinnarea larva. This bipinnarea larva, later on, it will modify into the branchiolaria larva. Okay, see here. This is the structure of the bipinnarea larva. This is how. So this is how you have to identify. So just now I have talked about the arms now. So 10 arms totally. Okay. So two what do you say? The arms are there. No? One is dorsomedian arm, dorsolateral arm. See here they are mentioned. This is 1, this is 2, 3, 4 numbering they have given. And each one actually is one dorsomedial arm. Then second one is dorsolateral arm. Third is the mouth, dorsal arm, stomach, anus, posterolateral arm, ventromedian arm, preoral arm, and the postoral arm. So this is about the structure of the bipinnarea larva. So this is how you have to identify the bipinnarea larva. So the first formed larva of echinoderms is bipinnarea larva. This bipinnarea larva later on gets transformed. It takes only very little time to get transformed. So this particular larva actually will be present only for a shorter duration, and okay, will be present only for a shorter duration. And when once that time is over, it will get transformed into the bipinnarea larva. Yes? Any doubt regarding the bipinnarea larva?
No,
Yes,
ma'am.
students. Hello?
No.
No.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Is it okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
ma'am.
Okay, shall I continue?
Yes,
To the
ma'am.
next larva.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is about the bipinnarea larva. Now next is branchiolaria larva. Now first form larva I told you what? Bipinnarea larva. Next larva is the branchiolaria larva. So the bipinnarea larva, second larva is the branchiolaria larva. So bipinnarea larva only will get transformed into the second larval stage, which we call it as nothing but the branchiolaria larva. Now here in this, 3 additional arms are present on this larval form known as the branchiolarian arms. See, it will be similar to that of the bipinnarea larva, but additionally, this branchiolaria larva also has 3 additional arms. Okay, so structure is a similar, but additional, how many arms are there? 3 arms are present on this larval form, which is known as a branchiolarian arms. Okay, and these help the larva to adhere with the substratum. So these extra 3 additional arms which are present in the branchiolaria larva, because we have seen that actually bipinnarea larva is a free living larva. So it can move freely. But branchiolaria larva, because of the addition, okay, or the presence of the additional arms, these arms actually help this particular larva to adhere with the substratum. So it can adhere to the substratum, and it can lie attached to it for the shorter duration. Okay. So these arms are neither ciliated nor have the calcareous rods and have the coelomic cavity extends into these arms. So here what they are saying is these arms do not have, they are not ciliated. In bipinnarea larva, we say that almost all the arms are ciliated, but these 3 additional arms which are present in the branchiolaria larva, they are neither ciliated nor do they have the calcareous rods, and the coelomic cavity will extend into these arms. So this is about the branchiolaria larva. Okay. Now I'll show you the next is the 3 short arms are at preoral lobe, 1 median and 2 lateral arms. they contain, so the three short arms which are present, what they are saying is they are at pre-oral lobe, and one is the median lobe and the other one is the two lateral lobes, and they contain okay. Yes, are you able to see now? Yes.
Yes, yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes,
yes.
madam.
Are you able to see? Some of them have said that they are not able to see the full screen. Now, is it okay?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay,
Is it?
ma'am.
Okay. So the three short arms are at pre-oral lobe and the one median and the one median and two lateral arms. Just now I've told you, branchiolaria larva actually has got three additional arms. So these three additional arms are shorter and they are present at the pre-oral lobe. Actually pre-oral lobe and post-oral lobe or pre-oral band and pre-oral region as well as the post-oral region I have mentioned in case of the bipinnarea larva. No? So here the three short arms which are additional, the three low, what do you say, the arms which are present in the branchiolaria larva, they are present at the pre-oral lobe. In that case, one is the median lobe and the other median arm, and the other one is the two lateral arms. And they contain adhesive cells at their tips, which act as a sucker. And the rest of the arms actually they degenerate and they become long, narrow, and slender. So this is about the branchiolaria larva. I'll just show you the structure. So metamorphosis of the branchiolaria larva. Now, metamorphosis of the branchiolaria larva, how this branchiolaria larva undergoes metamorphosis and change into the another type of larva. So with the help of the adhesive structures, I told you, it attaches to some object or it attaches to some substratum. So here in this case, the anterior portion of the branchiolarva will act as a stalk for some time, while the posterior part, which contains the gut and the coelomic chambers, they convert into young starfish. And this detaches itself and starts leading a free life. So that is how the branchiolaria larva gets metamorphosed and then it will modify or change into the complete adult larva. So when it becomes a complete adult, then it will become a free and it will be free floating in the water. So that is about the branchiolaria larva. Now see here, this is the structure of the branchiolaria larva. Almost similar to that of the bipinnaria larva. So it has got the branchial arms. Okay, branchial arms. Then you have the adhesive disc are present, whereas in case of bipinnaria larva, you don't find adhesive disc. So that is why it is a free swimming larva. It cannot attach to the substratum. But in case of the branchiolaria larva, it has got adhesive disc. With the help of adhesive disc, it will try to adhere or it will get attached to some substratum, because this adhesive disc actually has got the suckers which help in the larva to get attached to some substratum or to some object. Then likewise, it has got preoral arm, anterodorsal arm, mouth, esophagus, stomach, anus, intestine. The rest of the things are the same. So the difference between the bipinnaria larva as well as the branchiolaria larva is that the larva, it has got the preoral region, postoral region, everything sedated by, everything is the same. But additional three arms are present in case of the branchiolaria larva. But these arms actually do not have any seriated bands. Do not have any seriated bands. And another structure which is being present in this is it has got the adhesive disc, which are nothing but these adhesive discs actually has got the suckers, which help in the attachment of the larva to some substratum or to some object. So when it undergoes metamorphosis, because the larva has to get modified into the larva has to get modified into the adult. No. So the first stage bipinnaria larva is there. Bipinnaria larva will within a very short period, it will get transformed into branchiolaria larva. And this branchiolaria larva will get metamorphosed into the adult form. So when this branchiolaria larva gets metamorphosed into the adult form, what it will try to do is first it will get attached to the substratum, to some object. Then the anterior portion, just I have told here, with the help of the adhesive structures, it will get attached to some object or to some substratum. The anterior portion, what it will try to do, it will act as a stalk for some time. And the posterior part, which consists of the gut as well as the coelomic chambers, it will convert into a young starfish. So when once it gets converted into a young starfish, it will get detached. Okay. And then it will start leading a free swimming, a free life. So that is how the branchiolaria larva gets transformed into an adult. Okay. So this is about the branchiolaria larva. Yes, is it okay? Shall we continue?
Okay,
Yeah,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now next is what? Ophioplutus larva. I told you another class is Ophioroidea. Now first is Asteroidea. Asteroidea, how many larvae it will show? It shows two types of larvae. One is called as a bipinnarea larva and the other one is a branchiolaria larva. Now the second class is what? Ophioroidea. Ophioroidea produces or it shows what? Which type of larva? Ophioplutus larva. Now this is the larval form of class Ophioroidea. Now this larva again is a free swimming larva. It is bilaterally symmetrical and it has a single ciliated band. It has a single ciliated band. It possesses long arms with ciliated bands at the margin. And it has two anterolateral, two postoral, two posterior dorsal, and two posterior lateral arms. Out of these, posterior lateral arms are the longest arms and they are directed forward. Okay. So what does it consist of? It possesses long arms with ciliated bands. Now, among these arms, what are those arms now? It has two anterolateral arms, two post-oral arms, two posterior dorsal arms, and two posterior lateral arms. So what are they saying is among these. So how many are there? Two. Okay, two means total 8 arms it has got. Two anterolateral, two post-oral, two posterior dorsal, and two posterior lateral arms. So out of these arms, that is 8 arms, the posterior lateral arm, that is the two posterior lateral arms, they are the longest arms and they are directed forward. So next category is it is very smaller. So it has a comparatively smaller pre-oral lobe. So when compared to the what is a bipinnarea larva as well as your branchiolaria larva, it has a very, very small pre-oral lobe. And the post-anal part of the body is quite well developed. So the pre-oral region we can say is very small and the post-oral region actually is very large and it is quite well developed. And next thing is the larva consists of coelomic chambers and the archenteron. Okay, the larva consists of the coelomic chambers as well as the archenteron. And here, no attachment stage is there. That means it does not have any, the adhesive disc, or you can say it does not have any suckers which help the larvae to get attached to any object or to get attached to any substratum. So it is a free swimming larva. Like bipinnarea larva, it is a free swimming larva because there is no attachment stage, because there are no adhesive disc, or you can say there are no, the suckers present which helps in the attachment. So there is no attachment stage to this and hence it is a free swimming larva. And this larva metamorphoses into tiny serpent star which sinks to the bottom to begin its adult existence. So directly the Ophioplutus larva, what it will do, since it is a free swimming larva, okay, it will metamorphose into tiny serpent star. It will metamorphose into a tiny star which will sink into the bottom of the water and it will try to metamorphose into an adult. So that is how it will change or it will get metamorphosed into adult. So directly the Ophioplutus larva gets metamorphosed into adult. Whereas in case of the Asterias, that is Asteroidea, we have seen two types of larvae. What are those? One, we have seen the bipinnarea larva. This bipinnarea larva, within a very short duration, it will get transformed into a branchiolaria larva, and then the branchiolaria larva get metamorphosed into the adult. But in this case, in the Ophioroidea class, which shows the Ophioplutus larva directly gets metamorphosed into the adult stage. So this is the characteristic feature of the Ophioroidea as well as the Ophioplutus larva. So this is the Ophioplutus larva. See here. Now this is how it looks. Now here all the arms are there. That is posterolateral arm, left, okay, hydrocele with the lobes. Then you have got the intestine, anus, esophagus, mouth, posterodorsal arm, and anterodorsal arm. So this is how the structure of the Ophioplutus larva is. This is the structure of the Ophioplutus larva. Okay. Now, is it okay? Shall we go with the next type of larva? Any doubt?
Okay. No, ma'am.
Yes?
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay,
this
ma'am,
is about the, this is about the Ophioplutus larva, which shown by which class? Ophioroidea. Now next is Echinoplutus larva. Another class of the echinoderms is what? Echinoidea. Now, echinoidea actually shows or it produces a different type of larva which we call it as echinoplutus larva. Now, echinoplutus larva is microscopic. It is a free swimming larva of echinoidea, of class echinoidea. So it resembles the Ophioplutus larva, where the only difference is that it has more arms. Okay. Now the difference between Ophioplutus as well as Echinoplutus is Ophioplutus is being produced by Ophiuridia, just now we have seen. So what they are saying is Echinoplutus larva is similar to that of the Ophioplutus larva, but the difference is only it has got more arms. So the Echinoplutus larva has got more arms when compared to that of the Ophioplutus larva. And this larva shows ciliated bands. This larva will show the ciliated bands which are developed into the arms. And it is a fully developed larva. It consists of 6 arms supported by calcareous rods, and the tips of these rods are pigmented. That means they consist of the pigments. So this is about the Echinoplutus. So Echinoplutus larva is very minute. It is very small, free swimming, produced by which class? That is Echinoidea, and it resembles Ophioplutus larva. Only the difference between that is it possesses more arms when compared to that of the Ophioplutus larva, and this larva shows the ciliated bands like Bipinnaria larva, and these bands actually are developed into the arms. And here, the fully developed larva, if you observe, it will consist of 6 arms, which are supported by the calcareous rods, and its tips are also segmented. So this is about the Echinoplutus larva. Now, another characteristic feature is here, the posterolateral arms are very, very short, and they are directed towards the outside or the backward. The posterolateral arms. So we all know actually the arms are located everywhere. So they are present in the preoral region as well as in the posterior region. They are present on the anterior side, posterior side, lateral side, dorsal side. Okay. So here the posterolateral arms are very, very short, and they are directed outwards or backwards. And the locomotion is being performed by the ciliated bands, which in some cases they become thickened, and they are called as epaulets. Epaulets. Okay. So that means they become thickened. These ciliated bands, they become thickened, and these ciliated bands actually help in the locomotion. And since they become thickened and help in locomotion, they are termed as, the terminology, or you can say the ciliated bands are called as the epaulets. And there is no attachment stage. Okay. Like in Bipinnaria larva, there is no attachment stage. Even in Ophioplutus larva, we have seen there is no attachment stage. So even in the Echinoplutus larva also, there is no attachment stage. We have seen the attachment stage only in case of the Branchiolaria larva. Remember that. Even in Bipinnaria larva, we have not seen the attachment stage. Then next, in the Ophioplutus larva, we have not seen the attachment stage. Even in the Echinoplutus larva also, there is no attachment stage. So that means they don't possess any the suckers, or they don't possess any adhesive the sacs which help the organism to get attached to some object. So here also in the Echinoplutus also there is no attachment stage. So what happens? Metamorphosis is extremely rapid, taking place in about an hour. So directly the Echinoplutus larva get metamorphosed into the adult. Okay, and it takes about 1 hour, they are saying, to get metamorphosed into an adult stage. So this is about the Echinoplutus larva. See, when you talk about the arms, number of arms are there. So all these are nothing but the arms. So many arms are there. So extra arms are present in additional to the Ophioplutus. So the difference between Ophioplutus and Echinoplutus is only in the number of arms. So the number of arms actually are more in the Echinoplutus when compared to that of the Ophioplutus. So this is the figure or the structure of the Echinoplutus larva. Okay, is it okay? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, students.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Shall we move to the another type of larva?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Next is Auricularia larva. Now another class is what? Holothuridia. First we have seen Asteroidea, then we have seen Ophiuroidea, then we have seen Echinoidea. Now the fourth class what we are observing is Holothuridia. Holothuridia. These are the different classes of Echinodermata. First class is Asteroidea, which shows how many types of larvae? 2. One is bipinnarea larva and the other one is the branchiolaria larva. Second class was what? Second class was
Ophioidea.
Ophiuridia, which shows Ophioplutus larva. The third class just now we have observed is the Echinoidea, which shows the Echinoplutus larva. Now comes the fourth class, which is the Holothuroidea class of Echinodermata. And this Holothuroidea class will actually show a larval form, which is called as the Auricularia larva. Okay, now they are saying that this is the first larval form of Holothuroidea. That means another larval form is also there in this. So the first larval form of Holothuroidea class is the Auricularia larva. Now this Auricularia larva is very transparent, free swimming, pelagic, okay, and very small, and it is about 0.1 to 1 mm in length. 0.15 to 1 mm in length, very, very minute it is, and it is very transparent. And here the arms are absent. You don't see any arms, but the seriated bands are well developed. Actually, the seriated bands only prolong into the arms. Though they have seriated bands, they are well developed, but they don't have any arms. Arms are totally absent in the Auricularia larva. And it swims only with the help of the seriated band, which will forms the preoral loop and an anal loop. And alimentary canal is well developed, which opens with the mouth and ends with the anus. And internally, the larva has a curved intestine with a saciform stomach or sac-like stomach, that is a rounded stomach. So this is the characteristic feature of the Auricularia larva. Now, the Auricularia larva is the first larval form, or it is the first larval stage of Holothuroidea. How it is? It is very small, transparent, free swimming, pelagic, measuring about 0.5 to 1 mm. Arms are totally absent.
Ma'am, what is pelagic?
Okay. Okay. Arms are totally absent and the seriated bands are well developed. It possesses seriated bands and it swims only with the help of the seriated band, and this seriated band only which form the preoral loop as well as the anal loop. Alimentary canal is developed, much developed, which actually opens with the mouth and ends with the anus. And internally, the larva consists of an intestine with the stomach. So this is about the Auricularia larva. See here. Auricularia larva. See, are you able to observe any arms? The arms are totally absent. You don't find any arms here. You don't find any arms here. The structure is, again, it has got a mouth, hedocyl, stomach, intestine. Then you have got the right, what do you say, the
intestine,
hydrocele, as well as the
Somatocele.
pharynx. So this is about the structure of the Auricularia larva. Next is what? Doliolaria larva. Doliolaria larva, just now I have told you, the first larval form of Holothuroidea is what?
Auricularia.
What is that? The first larval form of Holothuroidea larva. Just now we have seen, na? Yes?
Yes,
Anybody?
yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Auricularia.
Yeah. Now the second larval form of Holothuroidea is the Doliolaria larva.
Okay.
You want to see the structure? Okay. Sorry. Now, Doliolaria larva. Now, Doliolaria larva is the second larval form of Holothuroidea. So that means Holothuroidea, class Holothuroidea shows how many larval forms? Two larval forms. One is the Auricularia larva, just now we have seen, and another one is the Doliolaria. The second larval form of Holothuroidea, and it is a transitional stage from Auricularia. So actually from the Auricularia larva, it gets transformed into the Doliolaria larva, and it is barrel shaped in structure with continuous seriated band which breaks into 3 to 5 flagellated rings, and the mouth is shifted to the anterior end and the anus is shifted to the posterior region. Metamorphosis is very gradual, during which it acquires 5 tentacles and 1 to 2 functional podia. As such, it is sometimes also called as pentacula. Okay, so the Doliolaria larva is also referred to as pentacula larva because it shows 5 tentacles. It shows 5 tentacles, so that is why it has been named or it has been termed as pentacula. So Doliolaria larva is the second larval form of Holothuroidea. Now the difference between Auricularia and the Doliolaria is it is a transitional stage. Okay, means Auricularia larva gets transformed into Doliolaria larva. It is barrel shaped in structure. The continuous serrated bands are there, but here in this case, the in case of Doliolaria larva, the serrated band will break up into 3 to 5 flagellated rings. Whereas in case of auricularia, you don't find. The serrated bands are there, no doubt, but it will not break. But here in the Dololaria larva, the serrated band will break up into 3 to 5 flagellated rings. And the mouth, as usual, it will go towards the anterior side, and the anus will shift towards the posterior side. And metamorphosis is very, very gradual, very slow, during which what happens is it will acquire 5 tentacles and 1 to 2 functional podia are there. Podia are nothing but the feet, okay, which help in the attachment. So 1 to 2 podia, functional podia are also developed, and it also will develop 5 tentacles. Because it develops 5 tentacles, sometimes it is referred to or it is called as pentacula. So this is about the Dololaria larva. So now the class Holothuroidea actually shows 2 different types of larvae. The first larval form of this is called Holothuroidea is called
Auricularia.
as Auricularia larva, and the
Auricularia.
second larval form is the Holothuroidea larva.
Doliolaria.
Doliolaria.
Next, after the appearance of more tentacles and podia, okay, now actually it is seen in sea cucumber. Sea cucumber actually comes under Echinodermata, no? Example. So sea cucumber belongs to Holothuria. Now common name is the scientific name is Holothuria, and the common name is sea cucumber. So the best example for Holothuria is sea cucumber. So after the appearance of more tentacles as well as the podia, this sea cucumber will settle down to the bottom of the sea, and it will lead an adult mode of life. In some cases, there is no auricularia stage. The embryo directly will develop into Dololaria larva. Remember that. So, though it shows 2 forms of larval stages. One is called as the auricularia larva, and the other one we are seeing is Dololaria larva. Okay. Now, Dololaria larva, I told you, it will develop the tentacles, and it will also develop the podia. So, once the tentacles as well as the podia develops, and they grow in larger size, the sea cucumber means the animal will settle to the bottom of the sea, and it will lead an independent adult life. Okay. So in some cases, what they are saying is, now the Holothuroidea, class does not show any auricularia stage, whereas the embryo will directly develop into Dololaria, because now the transition stage, the auricularia larva, though it is developed, it is only for a short duration. It is only for a short duration. So in some cases, in some instances, that is in some, the forms, or you can say some species of the Holothuroidea, we can say, the auricularia larva will not be observed. Directly, it will get transformed into the Dololaria larva. So in some cases, you can say that there is no auricularia stage. Embryo will directly develop into the Dololaria larva. So this is about the Dololaria larva. Now, this is the figure. See, it becomes a barrel shape, totally barrel shape. Okay. So it is a mature Dololaria larva where you can observe the different, the parts of the Dololaria larva. So now, is it okay? So Holothuroidea larva, class will show 2 types of larvae. What are those? One is called as the auricularia larva, and the other one is called as the Dololaria larva. And the difference between the auricularia and the Dololaria is, now here, in case it is only a transition stage, in the Dololaria larva, you develop the tentacles as well as the podia are formed, whereas in case of auricularia larva, the tentacles as well as the podia are not developed. So once the auricularia larva gets transformed, or before it gets transformed into the Dololaria larva, it develops the tentacles, and it develops the podia for the attachment. So, and it gets transformed into Dololaria larva, and this Dololaria larva, which is best observed in the sea cucumber. What happens is, when these tentacles as well as these podia, that is the feet, they get enlarged, they will sink to the bottom. That means they will shed into the bottom of the sea, and then they lead an independent adult life. So this is about the Dololaria larva. Okay. Any doubts, students? Yes.
No, ma'am. Yes. No, ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So how many types of larvae we are observing in class Holothuroidea?
2, ma'am. 2
Five
larval.
classes, ma'am.
Yeah, 2 types. Yeah, 2
Holothuroidea,
types. One
2
is
plus.
what? Auricularia larva, and the other one is the
Doliolaria.
Dololaria larva.
Dololaria larva.
Yeah. Now, another class is there, that is Crinoidea. You might have observed last, Crinoidea. So in the Crinoidea class also, you observe Doliolaria larva. In the Crinoidea also, you observe Doliolaria larva. So it is a larval form. So Crinoidea will exhibit only one larval form, that is the Doliolaria larva. Now, this larval form already we have observed, Doliolaria larva in case of the Holothuroidea. So Holothuroidea shows two types of larval forms. One is Auricularia and the other one is Doliolaria. So like Holothuroidea, the Crinoidea also will show only the Doliolaria. Only Doliolaria, Auricularia is not observed. Auricularia is observed only in the Holothuroidea class. Whereas in Crinoidea, you observe only the Doliolaria form. So it is the larval form of Crinoidea. It is a free-swimming larva having 4 to 5 seriated bands are there, and it contains an apical tuft of cilia. Okay, apical tuft of cilia, which will be sensory, and on the mid-ventral line near the apical plate, adhesive pit will be present over the first seriated band. So between the second and the third seriated band lies the stomodium or the vestibule. So this is the structure they are saying. So it is a free-swimming larva having how many bands? 4 to 5 seriated bands are there. It contains apically, means anteriorly, it contains a tuft of cilia which are sensory, and on the mid-ventral line near the apical plate you have adhesive pit is present, and between the second and the third seriated band you have got the stomodium or the vestibule, that is nothing but a stomach, part of the stomach. So next is the skeleton. Now the skeleton also will develop at this larval stage. Okay, and after swimming for some time it will develop a stalk. It will develop a stalk, and this larva again can be called as a pentacrinoid larva. Okay, pentacular. Just now I have told you, Doliolaria larva is also called as pentacular or pentacrinoid larva. And this larva, what happens is it will develop a stalk and it will attach itself, and the internal organs rotate to 90 degrees from ventral to the posterior region, and the larva will form a stalk, and it is now called as the pentacrinoid larva or the cystidian larva. So you can call this larva as cystidian larva or pentacrinoid larva, you can say. Whereas in case of the Holothuroidea, we call Doliolaria larva as pentacula. But here in this case, you can call it as pentacrinoid because this is a larva which comes under the crinoidea. Okay, so that is why they have given a specific name to this. That is, you can call it as the pentacrinoid or you can call it as a cystidian larva. So this larva this after some time will metamorphose into the adult stage. So this is about the Doliolaria larva. Doliolaria larva. This is Doliolaria larva of the crinoidea. Doliolaria larva of the crinoidea. Okay. So this is about the pentacrinoid larvae. Okay. Then next is the figure which shows the Doliolaria larva. So how many classes we have observed? We have observed 5 classes of the the echinodermata. Their first one is Asteroidea. Then second one is
Ophiuroidea.
Second one is what?
Ophiuroidea, ma'am.
Yeah. Ophiuroidea.
Third one is
yeah. Next.
Holothuroidea and Crinoidea.
Yeah.
Holothuroidea,
Next.
Crinoidea.
Last one is Crinoidea.
Crinoidea.
Yeah. Asteroidea, Echinoidea, Ophiuroidea.
Ophiuroidea.
Yeah.
Holothuroidea.
Yeah.
And Crinoidea.
Yeah. And the last one is, so these are the things. So what is the significance, evolutionary significance or the phylogenetic relationships between these different types of larvae that you observe in the echinoderms? Homology of the echinoderm larvae. So here they are saying that except for the crinoids, okay, because crinoids are the sedentary group, they cannot move freely. So the larvae of the Asteroidea, Holothuroidea, Echinoidea and Ophiuroidea, they exhibit some fundamental resemblances. Okay, so that means they are having all these the classes except the crinoids. Why? Because crinoids actually are the sedentary group. They are attached form. They are not free living. So the larvae of Asteroidea, Holothuroidea, Echinoidea, as well as the Ophiuroidea, they exhibit some fundamental resemblances. What are those? One is having the pre-oral as well as the post-oral loops. So in almost all the larval forms that we have observed, Okay, they have shown the preoral loops as well as the postoral loops, and they showed the ciliated bands which are V-shaped, and also they have shown the presence of gut, with the divisions and as well as the openings, and the coelom is enterocoelic coelom. So these are some of the common features that they show that they had a common ancestry. So what is phylogeny? Phylogeny is nothing but developing whatever the characters that we develop, we get it through the ancestors. So phylogeny is nothing but, so the phylogeny of the echinoderm larvae or the homology of the say that the whatever the features that are exhibited by the different larval forms of these echinoderms, actually they indicate that they have a common ancestry. That means they have originated from a common ancestor. So that is the reason why whatever the different types of larvae, though the echinoderms have exhibited in different classes, but their ancestor is the same. Because this we can observe through different types of larval forms. Because these larval forms, though they are different, but they possess certain same characteristics, similar characteristic features, like in the form of the presence of the loops, that is preoral loop, postoral loop, or you can say preoral band or postoral band, the V-shaped serrated band, and also all of them possess the gut, that is the stomach, with divisions as well as the openings, and all of them possesses the coelom, enterocoelic coelom, only except the crinoid. Why? Because here crinoid actually is sedentary group, and here you don't find all these structures. But the rest of the the classes exhibit the similar type of larvae, and these larvae actually originated all these types, though it is showing different larval forms. The echinoderms, though they are showing the different larval forms, they indicate that these larval forms originate from a common ancestry. Just now, and this has been observed through the different larval forms just now we have seen in possessing all these characters. Okay. So this is about the phylogeny of the echinoderm larvae. Okay. Any doubt you have?
No, ma'am. It's clear, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, just we will brush up once more. I will show you once more. Okay. So about the we have seen today what the class in the class we have discussed about the phylogeny and the larval forms of the echinodermata. You all know echinodermata comes under the invertebrate. So it is an important phyla. It possesses next to arthropoda. It has got a number of the species or the organisms are included under this particular phyla, and it shows different larval forms. And before going to the larval forms, it has different classes. The major 5 classes of this, which comes under the echinodermata, are Asteroidea, Holothuroidea, Echinoidea, then you have Crinoidea, Holothuroidea. So
Ophiuroidea.
these are the 5 different, the classes of the echinodermata, and these different classes actually exhibited or showed different larval forms. Though they exhibited different larval forms, some of the characteristic features that are shown by the different larval forms actually are similar. So that is the reason why we can conclude stating that these larval forms actually have originated or from a common ancestry. Whatever the larval forms that are shown by the different the organisms coming under the echinodermata, they originate from a common ancestor, except one crinoidea where it is sedentary. So they have a common ancestry. So we all know actually these echinoderms are they are radially symmetrical. They are present in the water. So therefore, their fertilization is external, and whatever the external means taking place in the water. Since they are most of them, almost all of them, they are the aquatic. They are present only in the marine waters, in the sea. So that is why the fertilization takes place externally, and it takes place only in the water. So when once the larva is being developed, this larva, what it will do, it will hatch in the water itself, and it will feed and it will grow into the adult. So the larvae of the echinoderms, actually basically they are all bilaterally symmetrical, but during the metamorphosis it will lose the symmetry, and again when it comes to adult they become radially symmetrical. But larval forms will be bilaterally symmetrical. So different classes of the echinoderms, though they show structurally different larval stages, but their ancestor is they originate from a common ancestor. Okay, so the comparison of these different the different larval states reveal that their evolutionary ancestry. Okay, now larval forms of different classes just already we have seen. So class Asteroidea, it shows two different larval forms. One is a bipinnarea larva and another one is a branchiolaria larva. The next class is Ophiuroidea larva, which shows Ophioplutus larva, only one larval. Then Echinoidea will show Echinoplutus larva, only one larval form. Holothuriidea will exhibit two types of larvae, that is Auricularia larva and the Doliolaria larva. So it shows two different types of larvae. And Crinoidea will show only the Doliolaria larva. Okay, so like this, the larval forms of different classes. So only two classes of the echinoderms actually will exhibit two different larval forms, where that is Asteroidea as well as Holothuriidea. Asteroidea, Bipinnaria and Branchiolaria. Likewise, Holothuriidea, Auricularia and Doliolaria. So, but now the transition period, that is from the, in case of Asteroidea, Bipinnaria to Branchiolaria larva, it is very, very little. So within a short duration, the Bipinnaria will get transformed into Branchiolaria larva. Similarly, in case of the Holothuriidea also, the Auricularia larva, when once it develops, that also is very transient. It will be there only for a transient period and it will get metamorphosed immediately into the Doliolaria larva. But in some instances, what happens is, it is not necessary that it should undergo the Auricularia larva, because Auricularia larva will not be there for a longer duration. It will be only for a shorter duration. So in most of the instances, in most of the cases, in case of the Holothuriidea, means in most of the organisms that come under this Holothuriidea class, they don't exhibit the Auricularia larva. They directly develop into the Doliolaria larva. So that is how, so there is no rule that they should exhibit. Only in some of the organisms show both the larvae. But in general, we can say that the Holothuriidea class, in Holothuriidea class, it exhibits two types of larval forms. One is the Auricularia larva and the other one is a Doliolaria larva. Okay, so you should remember 5 different classes and you should also remember the different larval forms. So 5 classes and different larval forms of this. Okay, now we'll again go through. So first one is Bipinnaria larva. Already I have told you. This is the first larval form of Asteroidea. It is bilaterally symmetrical, free swimming. It shows regions, preoral region and postoral region. And preoral region and the postoral region consists of what? Ciliated bands. So the 2 ciliated bands it has. One ciliated band is present in the preoral and the other one is present in the postoral. So this is about the Bipinnaria larva. Okay, the anterior end will transform into mouth, whereas the blastopore, that is the first opening of the embryo, will become the anus. And likewise, the preoral and the postoral ciliated band, they are continued into the arms. So this is the characteristic feature. Okay, and they say that actually a number of arms are there, no? So the names and the number of the arms developing the preoral and the postoral ciliated band are given here. So you should remember how many arms are being present and how and what are their numbers. Okay, so in case of Bipinnaria larva, posterolateral arm are 2 in number, postoral arm are 2 in number, posterodorsal arm are 2 in number, anterodorsal arm are 2 in number, preoral arm are 2 in number, ventromedian arm are 1 in number, and dorsomedian arm. So if you want to remember like this, first what you talk is, you talk about the anterior side and the posterior side. Okay, then you talk about the pre and as well as the posterior. So like that you can remember very easily. Okay, so what we can do is first anterodorsal 2. Then next is what after anterodorsal, posterodorsal you have. So anterodorsal is anterior side, anterodorsal 2, then posterodorsal 2. Then talk about the preoral. And then you have preoral arm 2 and the postoral arm 2. Then come to the median arm and the ventromedian arm. And lastly, you can talk about the posterolateral arm. So that way you can remember very easily. Okay, what are the different arms and how many are they number? Okay, so this is about the preoral. And next is the Bipinnaria larva is a free swimming, and it is so since it is freely swimming, so it can take any food that comes in on its way, and it is a free feeding form. And after a short period of time, very little time, it will transform into the Branchiolaria larva. Now this is about the Bipinnaria larva. Okay. Next is branchiolaria larva. Now, branchiolaria larva, the difference between these two is, no doubt it will get transformed within a short period, but branchiolaria larva, in addition to the arms that are being present in the bipinnaria, it will develop three additional arms. It will develop three additional arms, and these help the larvae to adhere with the substratum. So these additional arms actually help the larvae to get attached to the substratum. And these arms are not ciliated, and they don't have any calcareous rods also. Okay, and the coelomic cavity will extend into these arms. So those arms actually, they are ciliated and all those things, but the additional arms which are developed in the branchiolaria, they are not ciliated, they don't have any calcareous rods, but the coelomic cavity will extend into these arms, and the characteristic feature or the important function of this is it will attach the or help the larva to get attached to the substrate. Okay, then the three short arms are at the preoral. So what are the arms that are being present, developed extra additional? They are present at the preoral lobe, one medial and the two lateral lobes. And they contain these arms, extra additional arms which are being produced. They contain adhesive sacs, you can say, or you can say adhesive cells, you can say, which act as a sucker. The sucker basically helps in the attachment, no? So they produce, they contain adhesive cells. So they act as a sucker. So it will be easy for this type of larva to get adhered to the substratum. So when once it gets attached to the substratum, what do they do? They will get attached to the substratum. The arms will get degenerated, and they will become long, narrow, and slender, and they will get metamorphosed. So how does this metamorphosis of the branchiolaria? So the branchiolaria larva has to change into the adult form. It will not stay. It cannot stay in the larval stage. It cannot stay for the larval stage for a longer duration. So this branchiolaria larva, how it gets metamorphosed into the adult, we will see now. So yeah, as I told you, the branchiolaria larva will have what adhesive cells, or it can say adhesive structures which act as sucker. So because of these structures, what it will do, it can attach to some object. Now, when it gets attached to some object, the anterior portion will act as a stalk for some time, but the posterior part, okay, which has the gut and the coelomic chambers, it will get metamorphosed into an young starfish larva. So this will get later on detached, and it will start leading a free life. Okay, so this is the metamorphosis of the branchiolaria larva. So that is about the first one. The next, Ophioplutus larva. Ophioplutus larva again is a larval form of class Ophioidea. Okay, only one larva it has. It is a free swimming larva, bilaterally symmetrical form, having a single ciliated band. It has only a single ciliated band is there. It possesses long arms with ciliated band, and it has two anterolateral, two postoral, two posterior dorsal, and two posterolateral arms. Okay, but the arms are very, very longer. Out of these, the posterolateral arms are the longest and directed forward. Then it is very, very small. Okay, sorry, it has a very small preoral lobe, and the postanal part is well developed, and the preoral is very, very small. And the larva consists of coelomic chambers and archetron, like you see in bipinnaria as well as in branchiolaria. But here there is no attachment stage. It is always a free swimming larva, and it will metamorphose into a tiny serpent star, which will sink to the bottom too, and it will lead an independent adult life. So this is about the Ophioplutus larva, which comes under Ophioidea class. So this is the structure of the Ophioplutus larva. Now next you have the Echinoplutus larva, which belongs to class Echinoidea, and it is the only larval form that is exhibited by the Echinoidea. It is very microscopic and a free swimming larva, and it resembles Ophioplutus, and the only difference is it has more arms when compared to that of the Ophioplutus larva. And this larva also show the ciliated band, which will modify or which will develop into arms. And the fully developed larva, it consists of 6 arms supported by calcareous rods, and the tips are pigment. Same way, posterolateral arms are short, directed outward. Locomotion is by the presence of ciliated band, and there is no attachment stage here also. And the metamorphosis is very rapid, taking place in about an hour. So this is, so when once it metamorphoses, means directly it will develop into an adult. So when once it develops into an adult, it will lead an independent life. So this is about your Echinoplutus larva, which comes under Echinoidea. Next, this is about the Echinoplutus larva. This is the structure. Then you have Auricularia larva. Now, next class is Holothuridia. So, in the Holothuridia, you observe two types of larval forms. The first larval form is Auricularia, and the second larval form is a Doliolaria. So, the first larval form of Holothuridia, it is again transparent, free-swimming, pelagic, and arms are absent in this case. Ciliated bands are well developed. It swims only by the ciliated band, and alimentary canal is well developed. Internally, the larva has intestine with the stomach region, saciform stomach. This is the Auricularia larva. The next is you have Doliolaria larva. It is the second larval form of the Holothuridia, and it is a transitional stage. Means from the Auricularia larva, it gets transformed into the Doliolaria larva. So we can say it is a transitional stage from the Auricularia larva, and it is barrel shaped. Doliolaria larva characteristic feature is barrel shaped. Okay, remember that. And with continuous ciliated bands, and these ciliated bands actually break up into 3 to 5 flagellated rings. The mouth will go towards the anterior end. That means it will be shifted towards the anterior region, and the anus is shifted towards the posterior region. And the metamorphosis is very gradual, during which what happens is this Doliolaria larva will acquire 5 tentacles. Whereas in case of Auricularia, you don't find any tentacles. Only in the Doliolaria larva, you find tentacles. So that is why. And also, apart from that, it will also show 1 to 2 functional podia. That is, podia are nothing but the feet. So it will acquire 5 tentacles in addition to 1 to 2 functional podia. That is the feet. So that is the reason why you can also call the larva, that is the Doliolaria larva of the Holothuridia as pentacula. See, pentacrinoid is different. Pentacrinoid larva is the Doliolaria larva of crinoidea. But here pentacula is nothing but it is a Doliolaria larva of Holothuridia. So don't get confused. Okay. So it is sometimes called as, why they are calling it as pentacula? Because it will acquire the 5 tentacles as well as 1 to 2 functional podia will be present. So in Holothuridia, we observe 2 types of larvae. One is the Auricularia larva, and the second one is the Doliolaria larva. Doliolaria larva is barrel shaped. Okay. So next is so after appearance of more tentacles and podia, that's what happens. The sea cucumber will go to the bottom and it will lead an independent life. And they say that actually in some cases, already have explained it to you, some of the organisms which come under this Holothuridia, they will not show or they will not exhibit the Auricularia larval stage. Directly, they will get transformed into the Doliolaria larva. But only in some organisms, they will show the auricularia because it is only for a shorter duration. Okay, so from the Auricularia larva to the Doliolaria larva. So majority of you can say show both the larval form, that is Auricularia larva as well as the Doliolaria larva. But some cases means in some organisms which come under this Holothuridia, they do not show any auricular stage. Directly, the embryo get transformed or it will develop into the Doliolaria larva. So this is the Doliolaria larva, which is barrel-shaped structure. Now, next is the crinoidea. Now, even in the crinoidea, they exhibit the Doliolaria larva. So, don't get confused with the Doliolaria larva of the Holothuridia as well as the Doliolaria larva of the crinoidea. Now, both are almost similar, but except for some reasons, there is a difference. So that is why you can say Doliolaria larva of Holothuridia and Doliolaria larva of crinoidea. So now we'll see what are the extra, the parts that are present in the Doliolaria larva that comes under the crinoidea. So it is the larval form of crinoidea. It is also a free-swimming larva having 4 to 5 ciliated bands are there, and it has an apical tuft of cilia, which are sensory in nature. And they say that actually on the mid-ventral line, near the apical plate, adhesive pit is present. And between the second and third ciliated band also, the stomach or the vestibule, stomodium is nothing but a stomach region, stomodium or the vestibule is present. Then skeleton also develops at this particular larval stage, and after swimming for a shorter duration, it will develop a stalk, and after developing a stalk, actually it is called pentacrinoid larva. It will develop a stalk, and it is called as pentacrinoid larva because here also the tentacles are seen. So since it develops almost 5 tentacles, like you have observed in case of the Rulella larva of Holothuridia, here also 5 tentacles are developed. So that is why they call it as pentacrinoid larva. Okay, pentacula, you call it in case of the Holothuridia. Okay, but here in case of the crinoidea, you say it is pentacrinoid larva. So that is why it is also called pentacrinoid larva or cystidian larva also. Also it is called as. So it will develop a stalk, and when once it develops a stalk, the larva will, with the help of the stalk, it will get attached to some object by itself, and the internal organs, what it will try to do, it will try to rotate to 90 degrees from ventral to the posterior position, and after some time, it will metamorphose into the adult. So this is about the Doliella larva of the crinoidea. See, this is the Doliella larva of crinoidea. Now, the difference between Doliella larva of the crinoidea and this you observe. See, what is the difference? See here. Yes? Hello? Is it okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, this is the Doliella larva of Holothuridia. Now, this is the Doliella larva of the crinoidea. So, what are the external structures? What are the external features? You should be able to know very clearly. Now, homology. Lastly, the homology and phylogeny of echinoderm larva. So, except for the crinoid, which is a sedentary stage, almost all the larvae of the Asteroidea, Holothuridia, Echinoidea, as well as Ophiroidea, they exhibit some fundamental resemblances, like presence of the preoral loop, postoral loop, then presence of the V-shaped seriated bands. In almost all the, larval forms, we have observed the preoral loop, postoral loop, that is preoral region or postoral region, and also we have observed the seriated bands. So all of them are having V-shaped seriated bands, which are present both in the preoral region as well as in the postoral region. And all these larval forms also show the gut, that is the stomach, with its divisions as well as openings. And in all these larval forms, we have also observed that the coelom is enterocoelic. So these are some of the common features which indicate that though the echinodermata, okay, is the largest phyla, you can say, or having more number of organisms, though they exhibit different larval forms by different classes, but they possess a common features indicating that they have a common ancestry. That means all of them actually, these different organisms which come under the different classes of echinodermata, you can say, or the different groups which come under the echinodermata phyla, all have got a common ancestry. So this we can observe only by the the different larval forms that they produce during the developmental stages. So with the help of these larval forms of the echinoderms, we can state that the echinoderms, actually almost all the echinoderms, all different classes of echinoderms, we can say, possess a common ancestry. That means they originate from a common ancestor. So this is all about the the phylogeny as well as and larval forms of echinoderms.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, any doubt you have?
No,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You have not provided.
PDF, ma'am.
Okay. No,
Yesterday,
actually,
yesterday's
what
notes
I will
also,
do,
ma'am.
see, there is a common group. There is a common group now. In that, I will first post it to the head of the department, Kishore sir, and Kishore sir will post it to you in the common group. Okay?
And yesterday
Almost,
Okay,
also.
ma'am. I can.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you,
Yes.
ma'am.
yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but
Ma'am,
one
thank
thing
you.
is, we can post it, we can include only the students which come under the Hyderabad Study Center, not the persons who come under different study centers. I don't know
Okay.
how many of you are under different study centers. So those who are, yeah, those who are
Only
from, yes, ma'am?
only Hyderabad, ma'am.
Yeah, only Hyderabad, because I
Ma'am,
think
we are
Ma'am, we
from,
are from Tirupati also, ma'am.
that's
ma'am,
what.
we are from Visakhapatnam Study Center.
Yeah, you are from Visakhapatnam. Yesterday, that's what, when I talked with the head of the department, what he said is,
Hmm.
those who come under this Hyderabad study center, because I think for you, they will be giving you the material and all those things now. Hmm. That's
No,
what
ma'am,
they
there
said.
is no group.
Ma'am,
There is
in
no
our
group in our study center.
local and non-local students also is there, ma'am.
Okay. This no, it's better. I will. I'll get confirmed with the head of the department, and then I cannot take a decision, right? Because
Ma'am,
what we
today
Okay, ma'am.
today class is very nice, ma'am, and
okay.
answers are so very small and like
Yeah, yeah.
clearly. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
Ma'am,
That's why we are
ma'am,
asking.
about CLOM notes also we want, ma'am.
okay,
About
okay,
CLOM.
okay.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So
But
what I'm telling you is I will post all these things in the common group with the
Okay.
consent of the head of the department. Okay. So
Okay,
I'm
ma'am.
not going to
Okay.
post it directly through. So whatever you have, any suggestion or anything like that, you can contact the head of the department. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
So any
Thank you,
doubt,
ma'am.
if you have, you can ask. Still 2 more minutes are there. If you are having any doubts, where if I'm very fast or anything like that, if you're not
No,
able to
ma'am. No,
understand,
it's
No,
very
ma'am.
clear,
No,
ma'am.
ma'am. The
It's
class
very
was
clear,
very
ma'am.
nice. The class was very nice.
huh?
and we want a PDF, ma'am. Why? Because it's not any model test papers in market, ma'am. That's why we are asking
Yes,
for
ma'am.
theory.
Okay, okay, no problem. I will forward it in the common group. That first head will forward to you in the common group.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
okay. If you have any doubts, you can ask.
Okay,
Everything is
ma'am. Okay,
clear now. Everything is clear
Clear,
now.
ma'am.
Ma'am, clear, clear,
Everything is
ma'am.
clear,
Very
ma'am.
clear.
very clear,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay.
Ma'am, will you explain all the blocks, ma'am?
Which one? Yeah, yeah.
All the blocks, block one,
Yeah,
two, three,
paper
four,
one,
all.
because we have got only 10 days now, 10 classes. So in those 10
Yes.
classes, I need to take. So what I thought is, if in the next class itself, we will be taking two to what do you say, chapters, so that we can cover the whole block.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Huh?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yesterday some
From next
technical
class onwards, so we have to be a little bit fast. From next
some
class
of the
onwards,
members left in middle of the class only, ma'am. Yesterday some technical, no?
పేమెంట్ చేశానని చెప్పారు.
okay, okay, no problem. So all of you attend all the classes.
చేశానని చెప్పారు.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Every
Okay,
class is
ma'am.
important. So only 2 days are there for you, both Saturday and Sunday. You try to
Yes,
attend
ma'am.
all the classes so that you will get most of the information.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, I'm not able to hear what he's saying.
అంటే వరకు సరే ఇప్పుడు మీకు ఏం స్టెప్స్ ఉందా
No, ma'am. Someone talking in that side.
Okay, okay.
అదే
Disturbance. Okay.
రిమైనింగ్ అమౌంట్
Backdoor disturbance. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
లోన్ అమౌంట్ పెండింగ్ కదా
Thank you,
ఉంది.
ma'am.
Okay.
Sir, 9 only in theory exam, sir.
దానికి కట్టాలి సార్ లైన్ లోనే ఉంటాను పేమెంట్ చేసి అప్డేట్ ఇవ్వండి ట్రాన్సాక్షన్ ఐడి ఇవ్వండి లైన్ లోనే
Ask them to actually mute because see, from the next class onwards, don't do like that. You try
Okay,
to
ma'am.
mute.
all the members.
Yeah.
ఎప్పుడు చెక్ చేస్తారు సార్ ఎప్పటి నుంచి
We have to talk with ma'am only.
Ma'am, your number?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, your number?
Yes, yes.
Your mobile number, ma'am?
Yeah, this is my mobile number.
Ma'am, we can continue this class only. Otherwise, we have to leave the class.
No, no. We have to leave the class. I'm leaving. Almost it's time now. I'm leaving.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, madam. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Class is very nice, ma'am.